Thank you so much for joining this next webinar series. Think before you click, avoiding online and phone scams. Um, as a reminder for anyone who may be new here, my name is Cole Samaru. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Senior Tech Connect, and with me is Dylan Willis, our expert webinar lead and market president out in Southern California. Our organization, our company, exists to educate older adults specifically on technology, digital health, and online safety. We have seen in just 2 years of existing the immense need for tech education, digital health awareness, and online scam awareness, specifically for those who did not grow up with one of these phones in their hands like Dylan and I might have. So today we're going to be focusing very deeply into online scams, phone scams, and how that is all developing in the age of AI and artificial intelligence.
All right. Yeah. So, welcome everyone. And this is our second cybersecurity class. Last time we went over Cyber 1, which covered more like password management and things like that, using password managers, what passkeys are. Today, we're going to be more covering what these scammers' tactics are. Things like phishing, social engineering, robocall scams. What is malware? We'll learn about a couple of different types of malware and what that might look like if it is, in fact, on your system currently. Then we'll look at the National Do Not Call Registry and what exactly that does. Then we'll go to call blocking apps, discuss a few of those, as well as what your carrier might already provide without you downloading any additional apps. Then we'll look at silencing unknown callers and in by going over just how we can protect ourselves. Again, how we can learn these tactics that scammers are using and be prepared for when they strike. And I'll hand it right
And
back to
Dylan,
Cole here. Oh, go ahead, Cole.
yeah, I just wanted to mention before we jump into my senior health plan, but what makes us the authority to talk on this? Just really a little bit about our experience. In the last 2 years, we've taught over 20,000 older adults face to face, and we're currently supporting over 400,000 older adults through national healthcare partnerships. So we really see some of the needs and demands and the struggles that older adults face when it comes to technology and fraud. We work with some of the district attorneys in Southern California and law enforcement across Florida, South Florida, and Orlando markets. So that's where we're coming from. We've seen a lot, and we are obsessed with the notion of online safety.
Okay. So getting into these scammers' tactics now. So understanding how these scammers attack you is really important to protecting your information. So it's important to note, I think, right here at the top, that stopping scammers is not necessarily going to be the best approach here because there's so many of them and it's only getting worse. We've seen from 2017 to 2023 that there was about an 810% increase in these digital scams across our country alone. So I don't say this big number to try to scare anyone, but more to let you know that stopping the scammers maybe isn't the best approach, as opposed to teaching you the tactics that these scammers are going to use. That way you can be able to avoid them. Because again, they're just going to keep trying to make victims of people. These are organized criminal networks that are doing their best on a daily basis to just make victims of people and take whatever they can take. So learning these tactics is going to be really important to avoiding that. And phishing is a really pretty much the most prevalent way that they try to gather information. A phishing attempt is essentially just some sort of attempt to collect any amount of personal information. Maybe they're trying to pretend to be someone else, they're trying to be a legitimate business or pretend to be a legitimate business. And they're going to contact you. Maybe they've gotten your email, and that was their first initial phishing attempt, is they were able to get that email from you. And now they're going to go and scour the web and try to see what accounts are associated with this email. Do you have a Facebook account, for example? On that Facebook account, do you have certain things that you like, that you've liked with that like button, that you've joined certain groups that have certain things going on? Certain friends that might be in have certain affiliations where that scammer could then see and get a more holistic view of who you are as a person, what you like, what scams or what fake emails they might be able to send to you that might work. So as opposed to just some generic email being sent that you look at and think, oh, that's a scam, I'm not going to click on any of that. Maybe they go to your Facebook and see that you're joining a lot of groups like a Nordstrom or J.C. Penney or like some kind of like shopping type of thing. And then the scammer realizes, oh, okay, let me send you an email instead that says Nordstrom store wide 50% off, click here. And maybe you wouldn't fall for that one either, but they're trying their best to tailor it so that it will be more specific to you. And the more phishing attempts that they do to gather more and more information is that's going to essentially allow them to make a more personalized, a more believable scam to try to trick you. So they're
Dylan,
essentially, yeah.
I'm gonna jump in. We did get a question from someone asking, what is a phone scam, or is it phone support? Just to kind of answer that, back things up and walk through what exactly is a phone scam.
So this is going to be if it's a phone call versus a text. So we'll go over each of those here. So if it's a phone call, essentially that scam is the most prevalent one I would say is them trying to record your voice. If they're calling you, they're trying to get information. Obviously, they want to get an email or they want to get maybe they're saying that they've got something free they want to send to you and they just need to know what address to send it to, for example. They might be calling to try to get some sort of information like that, but especially your voice. That's a really important one these days. So if you get an unknown caller and you pick up that phone and you start talking to them, there's no way of knowing if they're going to be recording your voice or not. And if they are, they could use AI tools, new AI software to essentially clone that voice, and then they can sound like you and say whatever they'd like in your voice. From the texting side, that's going to be more link based. They want you to click on a link and be sent to a site. Typically, it's going to be a fake website they want to use to try to gain your trust. On that fake website, they're going to have some sort of text fields where they want you to enter information. Maybe it's a fake Amazon link, and then you go and they want you to log into your Amazon account. And you think, well, I automatically like it automatically logs me in every time. Why this time is it asking me to re-log in? It might be because that's actually a fake site that you've clicked on a link that a scammer provided. And once you put in your username and password, they're just going to, at that point, have that password. So yeah, they're trying to create this fake website to send you to gain your trust. They'll claim to be from a real organization, and then essentially they just want to get as much information as they can via either a phone call and getting your voice and that other sensitive information like your address or whatever else, or through text by getting you to click a link and be sent to a site where they'll try to gain more information. That link might also contain malware, which again we'll go over here in a few slides. And how would we identify this? So the emailing is a big one for scammers. And how would we actually identify that an email that's been sent to us is from a scammer? So a few red flags. The first thing I'm going to look for here, initially I see that this is an email coming from Dick's Sporting Goods, and I essentially want to look at the domain of the email. So this email address that's right next to the name, the very first thing I want to do is find the @ symbol and look at everything that happens after the @ symbol. And that is called the domain of the email. So for everyone here, most likely your own personal email domain is probably something like @gmail.com, @yahoo.com, @AOL.com, something like that. Here you can see that Dick's Sporting Goods, this domain that they have, is literally something that I can't even pronounce. The legitimate Dick's Sporting Goods email would probably say @dicksportinggoods.com. If it was from Amazon, it would say @amazon.com, @bestbuy.com, @netflix.com. These companies have their own domains that they will be using. So you can always check. This is always the first thing I look for is what domain is this email actually coming from? So secondly, I can look to see if there is a link. I immediately am going to be hesitant to click that link because you just don't know what that link's going to do if it's from a source that you don't necessarily trust. But what you can do is hover your mouse, hover your cursor over the link without clicking on the link, just hover it over, and you'll see a small pop-up up here. And this pop-up tells you the actual URL or web address that you're going to be sent to when you click on that link. So here, again, another telltale sign is I can't even pronounce what's here. It's just some nonsense. This would most likely say dicksportinggoods.com slash whatever. The stuff at the end might be a little bit more difficult to read, but that first portion should be the website, dicksportinggoods.com. So I can see here it's again coming from some random unpronounced website. It's also saying Amazon AWS. So it's important to point out that Amazon AWS is not a scam by any means. It's something that's very, very important for smaller businesses, especially to be able to have access to essentially this massive data farm, server farm, I should say, that Amazon has built over time. And now at this point, they have so much server availability, they don't really need all of it. So they sell it to smaller companies that don't have the funding to just build their own server farm for their website and whatever else. So it's a really useful thing for these small businesses to have access to. But is Dick's Sporting Goods a small business? I would say no. So again, I would look here, I would see Amazon AWS and think this is far too large of a company to be relying on AWS at this point. So another red flag there. Another thing I'm seeing is this attachment that's here. Just like with a link, we also don't want to download those attachments because it can also install that malware on your device. And again, if you don't really know the source, if we're not, in this example, certainly not trusting this email, this link or that downloaded attachment might just have malware on it, that malicious software. So always approach these unknown emails with caution. Do we have any questions, Cole?
Yeah, Dylan, a couple questions coming in. So one of them is, to tell us how to hover over to see if that email is not visible. And so, Dylan, we can see your mouse moving around. So maybe if you can kind of just show us what it would look like, what you do with your mouse without clicking, but
Yeah, so for the link is will be one. I also want to point out up here, because I know this might be what some of you are asking about as well. Some of you, when you see the name Dick's Sporting Goods, you might not see an email right to the right of that. It might actually be hidden underneath this. So you can essentially click in to Dick's Sporting Goods. This is an okay area to click on. This is being sent to being provided to you by the email provider. This is being, especially if you're looking at the email services, you'll see a name and it'll likely be appearing inside of like a bubble that you can click on, and then you'll see a drop down that shows the actual email address. Importantly, you do not want to click on a link or this attachment or anything that's in the body of the email is something that could be very nefarious. So we don't want to click on those. For hovering, it's as simple as that. I would just bring my mouse here and hover over this link and do nothing else. I've simply hovered my mouse and now I'm just waiting for this pop-up to appear, which will appear within a second or two. So again, I would just bring my mouse down, wait for a second, and then I would see this pop-up appear.
and we have another question from Annette saying, are you saying that the name Dick should read the same after the @ sign? And I think what Dylan, you were trying to say was it may not be dicksportinggoods.com, but it should be something that you recognize as legitimate, maybe dicks.com, or if it's from Amazon, it should be amazon.com. It definitely shouldn't be HFG It should be something that looks legitimate, like someone actually uses that email address for the past couple years and invested money into making it a legitimate domain. So I hope that answers some of the questions. Dylan, one question that I had was, so I'm looking on my phone and a lot of people are, getting emails to their devices, to their mobile devices. And, I click on an email from TaxAct and then I see that it says it's from TaxAct to me, but it doesn't say what the actual email address or email domain is. So in this case, for me, I have to actually click on the name TaxAct above in order for it to kind of expand out and show the email address. Is that what you would recommend?
Yeah, and just like I was saying with this as well, even on the browser side, or not the browser, but on the email client side of your laptop for whatever reason, you can also click the name. Because again, this I would say is it's less common to see this these days, where you're seeing the name of the company and then the email right next to it like this. More likely than not, just like Cole described, it's going to be an option for you to click on. And then once you click on it, you'll see a drop-down box or a pop-up window that will show the actual address. And again, that important distinction is that this is an okay thing to click on, whereas nothing in the body of the email would be. Um, and I also wanted to just to go back to that last question for a bit. Yes, it should be something that you recognize, but even if you recognize it, make sure you're looking closely. Like for example, with Dick's Sporting Goods, it might say at dicksportinggoods.com, but then this I is a one or an L or something else that looks very close to correct. I'll say I've rarely seen this. Usually I see it being some random thing here. They don't put much effort in, as is the way of the scammer. They want the easy target. So they're just trying to do whatever the least amount of effort on their part and just trying to send this out to a bunch of people. But again, they can be pretty crafty with it and adjusting that. If you see something, let's say you get an email from Amazon and it says at amazonmail.com, and you think, well, I think it should say at amazon.com, but at Amazon Mail might be legitimate. I would recommend going to Google and just Googling what are the correct email domains that I should be receiving emails from Amazon from. And you'll see a list there presented to you that will show all the domains, because they're not, especially for a massive company like Amazon, they don't have one single domain. They'll have a few that will have Amazon in the name. I think they probably have like 5 or 6 different domains. But again, you can Google that and see exactly what they are and compare that to the email that you're receiving.
I've got thanks, Dylan. You're crushing these questions, and we have yet another one that I think is really good. It's from Shio. Says, I keep receiving these emails telling me my account will be blocked unless I increase my storage on Yahoo. I've tried unsubscribing, but nothing has worked. What should I do? Now, because I saw this and it instantly kind of brought up a yellow or red flag in my mind, I just copied that question and I just put it right in Google, just like Dylan said. And the answer that I'm getting is these emails are almost certainly a phishing scam designed to steal your Yahoo login credentials. As legitimate, urgent storage warnings are rare. Do not click on any links. Immediately mark these messages as spam or phishing and create a filter for the phrase storage, and to make sure that you're putting this sender's address into the trash and into your spam folder. Dylan, anything else that you would want to say on something like that?
Yeah, I think just kind of going back to those phishing attempts, like I was saying, one of the goals they want to do is to send you to a fake website. So if they can convince you that your storage is full and you need to do something, then they need you to click on this link and go to the Yahoo site, and it will look just like yahoo.com. And then of course, you'll put in your login information to start the process, and that's really all they wanted. They just wanted to get that login information from you. Um, there was one other thing I was going to say about that. Now I'm blanking on what it was. Um, um, yeah, I guess we'll move on. I'll probably remember on the next slide, and then I'll bounce right back here. We'll see.
No worries.
Uh,
And great questions, listeners. Thank you so
yeah,
much. This really helps make this engaging for us because we can answer the things that are important to you.
yeah. So social engineering. So this is a term for where scammers are essentially trying to pretend to be someone else and convincing maybe even an organization that they belong somewhere. Typically with social engineering, this is where you hear about things like data breaches. So when you hear about a company like Facebook, for example, having a major data breach, oftentimes that's not just happening from the outside of someone just trying to hack into Facebook and steal that information. Usually there's some social engineering involved, where they might go and over time learn more about the routines of maybe the corporate office, of the headquarters, wherever the server rooms are. And over time, they'll figure out a way to maybe get the right ID card or ask the right person the right question to just gain access to that server room. And essentially, they can put a small device into that server and gives them access to that. So then they can just leave and go back home, and now they will have that access to go in and cause this data breach, which then leaks your passwords, your usernames, things like that. And we've probably all received those emails from Facebook saying, "Hey, we've experienced a data breach. Please go change your Facebook password." The problem there is that scammers are aware that you're probably going to go change your Facebook password, but they're also aware that oftentimes people will reuse the same password from multiple sites, or they might just add a one or an exclamation mark at the end of the password to try to make it seem unique. But scammers are aware of these tactics, and they're probably going to take that leaked password. And assuming they have your email and they know a few other accounts that you use, they're probably going to try that password or variations of that password on your other sites. So again, this is just like with phishing attempts. They're going to try to get small pieces of information over time. They don't want to just try to do this all at once because that's how they realize they're going to get caught if they just try to do this all at once. They want to just barely get a little bit of information, see what they can do with it, get a little bit more, and over time they build this full profile of information to steal your identity. And from there they can do things like taking out a credit card in your name, making personal loans, and the best defense against that is freezing your credit. So if you don't intend to get any more credit cards or take out a personal loan, or even if you think you might in a few years, still freeze your credit. It's super simple to unfreeze it if you need to. But if your credit is frozen, you won't even be able to create a new credit card. You won't be able to take out a personal loan until you go back to those websites and unfreeze your credit. So very useful. It just stops them in their tracks. They will not be able to do that, even if they get this whole profile of information, unless they also get the login information for TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian to unfreeze your credit, which is a big ask. And especially if you're using more unique passwords for those sites, which we should be using for most sites, then you'll at least be protected from that horrible situation, at least. Any
Yeah.
questions here?
Dylan, thanks for mentioning the freezing the credit and the social engineering. I want to just make 2 points. One, I included our YouTube channel there because I specifically made a couple videos on YouTube on how to freeze your credit, whether it's through TransUnion, Equifax, or Experian online, or if you'd like to just call their phone number, provide your information, and then they can freeze your credit. But the second thing, I want to come back to social engineering and just kind of paint a picture. For example, our business, Senior Tech Connect, I am a very, outspoken person online on social media. And so my information, my whereabouts, the things that I do are very much about out there. And people know what our business does. They know a lot of the key players on our team. And so we get tons of emails. I get tons of emails claiming to be from Dylan or from Angie or from our bookkeeper. And a lot of them are very, very realistic. And that's exactly social engineering. They're looking at our websites, they're looking at our social media, they're watching our videos, and they're trying to piece together what are the relationships across our business and how can they get in using that information. So just another perspective. It happens to all of us. It's not just individuals, it's organizations, teams, businesses. Um, so thanks, Dylan.
Yeah. And I did just remember the thing I was going to say earlier about the Yahoo Mail thing. Um, I noticed as you were saying what that email was saying, that there was a big sense of urgency there, of you need to do something right now. And you're going to see that be consistent across any scams. There's going to be two big consistent things across just about any scam you encounter is they want you to do something right now and don't tell anybody. Act fast, sense of urgency, and be isolated. That's what they want. So yeah, I just wanted to say that as well. So again, with social engineering, they might contact you via email, phone, text, on social media, and just like Cole's saying, they're going to try to uh, essentially trick you or convince you that they are someone important in your life, that they can manipulate you in some way. Maybe they know that you've recently experienced loss and they want to pull at those heartstrings in certain ways. Like again, they're trying to manipulate you on a social level. So you can always confirm if it is a business reaching out to you, especially if they're reaching out trying to solicit to you and you're not even sure if this is a legitimate business or not. You can always go to the Better Business Bureau. That's kind of a tongue twister, and you can see a lot of websites there, or a lot of companies there. But the one note I would say is the Better Business Bureau. You do have to pay to be there. So not necessarily every legitimate company will be there, but on the Secretary of State's website any legitimate company that is registered in the state will be on that site. It will be there somewhere. Again, with the Better Business Bureau, that's a nice vetting system, but again, if they're not there, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a scam. They might just not have paid the fee to be included in that Better Business Bureau. So
Mm.
then recognizing these scams, first of all, have you even heard of the person or the organization? Like in this case, we know that AT&T is a legitimate company, but do you have an AT&T account? Or is this just someone soliciting to you? And oftentimes, especially if you put yourself in the do not call registry, the real AT&T probably won't be soliciting to you. And we'll go more into the do not call registry here in a few slides. Um, but let's look at an email here. So how we can recognize. Again, just like before, the first step, the first thing I'm going to do is look for the domain of the email. So I see this is coming from Internal Revenue Service. We'll see. Right next to that, I see the email. It says admin@revenue.com. So it looks almost legitimate. It's not a bunch of scrambled letters and numbers. But again, this is a government website, not a company. A company would be .com. A government agency would be .gov. This specifically, since we're also aware of what the IRS should be at irs.gov, not revenue. So again, if I wasn't privy to this information, if I didn't know that, I could still just copy this email, go to Google and say, is this a legitimate IRS email? And Google will immediately tell you that this is not a legitimate domain. The next thing that I'm seeing here, it immediately starts with the first paragraph. No introduction, no hi Dylan, nothing. Saying that you're eligible to receive a tax refund. So they're trying to give you money. That's what they're saying they want to do. And you just got to click here to fill out a form to give them probably quite a bit of information to then be scammed. A very important thing to point out here. This is an IRS email, which is not something you will ever see. The IRS or any government agency is not going to email you. They're not going to call you. They're not going to text you. They will send you certified mail in your mailbox, which will be identified by the green banner across the top. And if you have a mailbox that doesn't lock, and you think, well, what's stopping a scammer from just making a green envelope and throwing it in my mailbox? Anytime you receive that certified mail, you can go to USPS.com and track the exact trajectory of where that package, that this envelope has been. If it has been inside of a post office and gotten back out, it is legitimate. A scammer is not going to be able to get certified mail through a post office and have a postman deliver it. There's a screening process there, and they would not be able to get that through. To my knowledge, I doubt they would even try, because again, it's just certified mail is going to be caught if it's not actually certified mail.
Right. And to add, typically the IRS, if there's any action that needs to be taken, they'll drive you back to the irs.gov website, have you plug in your information so that you can see and manage whatever types of financial or tax information they want you to manage. So they're not going to be, sending you a, to click on some other link that's not the irs.gov. They're essentially just going to be sending you certified mail saying, go onto your account or log on to irs.gov and see we have a message for you.
Yeah, I guess that is an important distinction to note that the initial contact will always be certified mail. So if you're in the process and you've now set up an appointment to have them call you or something, then yes, the IRS might call you. But you have set that up yourself. You've established that scheduled call. That initial process will always be started with certified mail, though. And then, like Cole said, it might direct you to go to a website. But because it's certified mail, you know that that's a legitimate website as well that the actual government is providing for you. And now, does the text message, does it look professional? So here I've got a text message and immediately opens up with "Dear, straight to the point." So right out the gate, where they very clearly meant to put a person's name, they've already messed that up. And now they've just put this grammatically incorrect version of a statement here. I can also see that it's coming from some random iCloud account. This isn't a person's phone number. Sometimes up here, especially with like the toll road scams that we've probably all received, where you've received a text message saying, click here to pay for the toll road that you never drove on. Going up here and looking at this area, you'll probably see the phone number it's coming from has a country code at the beginning, like a +63 or something like that, signifying that it's not even coming from America. It's coming from a totally different country. The country codes for each country can be found just by Googling those, but any of them that are American should just be a 1. The country code for the United States is simply 1. So look up what your specific country's country code is, and if you're receiving texts that aren't from that country code and it's saying it's from their government, then that is definitely a scam. In this example, though, we're seeing that this is someone trying to invite us to a group chat for financial analysts. This guy's claiming to be David. And essentially, what he's wanting here, what they're wanting, is for you to join this group chat at the bottom. If you were to join this WhatsApp group chat, they would essentially start feeding information to you saying, hey, we've got these investment opportunities. Click here and we'll get you set up. We'll get you in earlier than all the rest of the people. They'll have these too good to be true offers. And because you're in a WhatsApp group chat with a bunch of scammers, what's going to happen is this David guy is probably going to say something prophetic in his mind, and then all the other scammers are going to create an echo chamber around you, saying, "Oh wow, this worked so amazing! This worked great! Like, oh, I'm already seeing returns." Trying to create that echo chamber to give you what we call FOMO, or fear of missing out. They want to convince you that, oh no, people are making money. I could be too. I need to act fast. Again, that sense of urgency, right? And again, because of this group chat and the echo chamber created, it's also isolation. No one else in that group chat cares about you. They're all against you. It is you being isolated in this echo chamber.
Dylan, moving forward to, I feel like I'm not getting as many of these types of messages these days. I'm getting more of the random phone number that says, hey, are we meeting for coffee today? Can you talk through those more cryptic messages and how they're operating?
Yeah, so that is a good one to point out. So we will oftentimes see like, hey, you coming to the meeting today, or hey, we're meeting at 2 for lunch, or like some random short thing that has no additional context, and it's kind of meant to confuse you. Of like maybe they want you to respond and say, hey, sorry, you got the wrong number. And as soon as you respond saying, hey, you got the wrong number, you've completed step one for them. The first thing they want to do is actually find out if you're a real person. Because initially, these scammers are pulling from millions and millions of phone numbers, pulling, however many of them they can, and then sending hundreds of thousands of text messages out and just seeing who replies. As soon as you reply, whether that's by responding via text or answering that unknown caller and saying, stop calling me and hanging up, either way, you've completed step one. And now that scammer is going to take and put that number into a much smaller pile of numbers and say, well, we need to really focus on scamming these people because we know they're real. So that initial kind of cryptic message of like something that has no context and seems odd is usually for that engagement initially, and then they're going to try to build a relationship from there if they can. They'll certainly attempt it. Maybe they'll just try to keep the conversation going, try to talk to you, find out more about your interests, claim that they share the same interests, and try to develop that relationship over time. And then potentially that might actually turn into a romance scam, or maybe they turn into they for the first 6 months to a year or so, they're just developing a relationship. They're not acting nefarious in any way. They're not asking you for anything. They're just being a friend, being a romantic partner, even over the phone. And then after a certain point, that's when they'll start saying something like, "Oh, yeah, I'd really love to come visit you, but my money's tied up in this account right now. My son's sick, so I gotta take care of him, so I don't have the extra funds to come down and see you." And at that point, try to convince you to start helping to pay for certain things here and there. Maybe a small gift card of 20, 40 bucks at first, and that builds from there. But ultimately, the initial reason for those are typically just to see who's even a real person, because these scammers don't know who's real. All they know is that everyone's information is pretty much out there, even people who are maybe no longer with us or have deactivated numbers. So yeah, that's that first step for them is confirming who's real.
That's great. And so coming back to it, that's the first step that they're taking. What is the first step that we should take? I get a text message that says, hey, are you meeting us for lunch at noon? What should I do?
Nothing. Ideally, hit report if you have that option at the bottom to report as junk, to just get rid of it. But do not engage, do not respond, do nothing. The only appropriate thing to do would be if you see that report junk option at the bottom of your message or report spam or whatever else. If it's an email, you can put it in your junk folder to help train your spam filter to recognize those things. But ultimately, just don't engage. Any type of engagement is just going to lead to more calls, more emails, more texts at a nearly relentless rate. I think Cole, you recently experienced this with I think a tax thing. Is that correct?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was getting tons of phone calls, not necessarily texts, but phone calls, and it's still happening. And I think that actually brings us to a question that we had right here. Back to the phone scam. I receive a lot of these calls where nobody speaks. I'm now afraid to speak. It has turned into a game. I call the number back if they hang up. Turns out the number is not available. Here lies my issue. I apply for jobs. What if a potential employer calls? I tend to block these numbers. My phone has a feature to block numbers not registered in my contacts. Is there a good solution? I've experienced all kinds of scams. So how would you answer that? I know there's a lot going on here. The phone calls, nobody's speaking, calling back, some red flags, applying for
A couple things
jobs.
to address here. First of all, them calling and not saying anything. The reason that's happening is they just want you to talk. They want you to say something as much as you're willing to say, so they can record that voice and then clone it. So that's really the purpose of that call there. As far as solving your problem of, hey, I kind of need to answer these phone calls, I need to get a job, like that's very important. I would recommend looking into call screening. It's kind of a newer feature, but it's certainly something that's available at least on iPhone. I'm sure there's an Android version or at least an application you could download. I would maybe Google that to look into the specifics for your device. But if you have an iPhone, you should have the ability to put I think it's just called call screening. And essentially what it does is when an unknown caller, and I have it turned on my phone, so when an unknown caller calls me, and as like I need to be able to answer unknown callers because I might have a client calling me that needs to set up an appointment. But what's going to happen is it's initially going to have a robot answer the call for me and say, "What is your name and what is your reason for calling?" And that way, if it's a scammer, they're just going to hang up right then because they don't want to give any information like that. If it's a legitimate person, they'll leave that information. And then as soon as they do, your phone then starts ringing and you'll see a display on your phone saying, so and so is calling for so and so reason. So really, really useful feature that they're starting to add to these devices. Um, yeah.
That's
Uh,
great.
were there
I
any other?
have,
Yeah.
yeah, we're getting tons of questions
Oh,
here.
okay,
I
great.
I also have a comment, which I want to hear your take on this, Dylan. My sister loves to mess with scammer calls and give them fake info. She tells them she's with the police right now and they are tracking them now and they hang up.
So it's a fun game, right? But again, you're giving so much of your voice. You're talking to them. They're definitely recording your voice the whole time. Yeah, you're wasting their time, but not in any meaningful way. There's still plenty of other scammers that are still doing the same work. I hear that's normally the reason though, is like I want to waste their time because they're wasting our time. But again, you're doing what they want you to do. You're engaging. And as soon as you engage, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to become more scams. So yeah, I get it. I get that like people want to mess with these people and like, oh, that like I want to get one over on them. But again, by doing so, you are also becoming potentially a victim of someone cloning your voice and then maybe calling one of your loved ones and sounding identical to you and maybe convincing them that you just got arrested and you're in jail and you need bail money and they need to act fast and don't tell anyone because that's those two things they love to do. So yeah, I highly discourage anyone from engaging, period, with these scammers, even if it is for the reason of trying to mess with them or getting one over on them. It's still the same outcome where they come out on top.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Dylan, and even the comment, because we're seeing a lot of this. I see it as every time you answer a phone call or text back or email back, you're opening up a jar of honey and they're just going to kind of swarm. If I have your number and I know you are an active number with a person behind it, I'm going to sell your phone number to thousands of other scammers. The other piece is that oftentimes the individual that's on the other end, we're doing a lot of research into how these scam syndications work. And oftentimes, as unfortunate as it is, the scammer themselves is typically a trafficked person that was also looking for a job. And they might have been brought to a scam operation center in Myanmar or Cambodia or Southeast Asia somewhere, or really anywhere around the world. and they could be a victim of trafficking and being exploited into scamming people like you. So the whole industry is really, really dark and really, really bad. So let's do our best to just not get involved and protect ourselves.
So
Because yeah, yeah, go ahead.
I would add on to that. If it's if it's just like a fix of like I just liked seeing these scammers having gotten over on them. There's a YouTuber. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but there's a YouTube guy that does mess with these people in a very real way that I don't think any of us possibly could. Where he actually like hacks into their CCTV and can see them in the country they're in and will mess with them by saying, "I see you're wearing a red shirt," or something like that. And it's like that they very much there is that guy at least, and I'm sure many others who are messing with these scammers in big ways. And I'll say they are really funny videos to watch. Um, Again, maybe not as funny considering the context that, like Cole said, some of these people are absolutely being trafficked. They are being forced to do this against their will. And it's not their fault. Maybe they know that if I don't scam you, they're going to hurt my wife or something like that. And it is a very sad situation. Doesn't mean that anything I've said before this isn't true or shouldn't be addressed in the same way. But yeah, it is certainly not so black and white as those are the bad people and we're the good people. It's those are the bad people who have probably had decent people, good people, forced to work for them. And you said there were a few. Was there more questions, Cole?
No, yeah, no, I see some coming up. Yeah, there's Kit Boga, Jim Browning, a couple of they call them scam baiters who go out there and do YouTube
Oh
videos
yeah.
attacking them. But I think that is most of the questions that we have answered to this point.
All right. So now, are they asking you for information or they want you to give them money or something like that? In this example, this is coming from USPS, they say. But then immediately, as with anything else, the first step I want to see, well, this is coming from an email. So what is the domain of this email? And the United States Postal Service does not have a domain of cleanolo.sbs. This is, again, as far as I'm concerned, just some nonsense. I've never heard of this in my life. Absolutely not the USPS. But they're going to give you this website here that they want you to either go to or just reply with why. Reply yes. That's going to be that initial engagement. Maybe they're putting this here because they instead expect you to reply with in for no because they want you to just stop. And as soon as you reply with in, again, you've completed step one. Now they know you're a real person. They didn't know that a few seconds ago. And again, you always should have this option down below for unknown callers or unknown messages to report as junk. So pretty much any sender that's not in your contacts list, you should see this option to report. And are they claiming they can fix your computer? So I like I like having this graphic here because I like pointing out that it's not going to look like this. It's not going to be some bright red and white flashing. You've got a virus on your computer. It's going to look like a Microsoft notification. It's going to look like an Apple notification, a Google notification. The difference is going to be it's probably going to present you with a number like you're seeing here or a link for you to click on saying, hey, call this number so we can remove the virus. Click on this link so we can help you with this virus. And a legitimate notification is never going to say that. If it's a Microsoft notification saying you've got a virus, it's going to pop up a notification saying, hey, we've detected some sort of malware. Would you like us to run a test or work this out? Essentially, you can click there to open the Microsoft Defender or whatever device's virus protection you have. And from there, the software already on your computer will work to either remove this infection or let you know that it's something that they were not able to remove and it needs to be taken to someone of a higher level. But in any of these notifications, you should never see a phone number that you're calling. You should never see an external link to be clicked on. But that's really the telltale signs that even if it looks like a legitimate notification, it is not. And you can always go, if for whatever reason you are thinking that it's the correct number, you can always just go and Google the number. Like if it's saying, let's say you have Norton or something like that, and it's trying to say to call this number, you can always Google and say, what is Norton's customer service number or the number that I should call? And it'll probably tell you, even in that Google search, the same thing I'm telling you. If it's asking you, if it's providing a number like that, it's probably a scam. So we want to avoid those.
So what I'm hearing you say, Dylan, is you're talking about independent verification. You're saying you get this notification from somewhere about something, and then you're verifying whether that is true via another independent means. And to give a story, again, going back to the phone calls that I've been getting that claim to be from QuickBooks or whoever, um, I just silenced all of those calls. I did not answer any of them. But what I did was I just spoke to our bookkeeper and I said, okay, let's see if this thing is true. Can you reach out to QuickBooks support? I'm not going to give you any of the phone numbers that I got phone calls from. Go look up QuickBooks support and go talk to them. And that's how we were able to determine that this was all a complete scam. So when we say independently verify, when a pop-up comes up or an email tells you you have an issue, don't even you can note it in the back of your head, but don't even click or don't even look at those phone numbers. Go independently verify that company that they're claiming to be or the organization that might have that problem, and then reach out to their tech support that you independently verified to be true.
Yeah, absolutely. So here, are they trying to rush you into quick action? Again, that sense of urgency. Here you can see that the money is going to be taken out of your account in 24 hours if you don't do something. Again, this is claiming to be Geek Squad. So a legitimate company like this, they would send you a few reminders. If it's like you're renewing this, they would let you know. They would have especially it seems like this is trying to play itself off as like a new subscription, but oftentimes I'll see them showing that like your Geek Squad is being renewed for another year. And in that instance, you're going to get a notification a month prior, probably one a week prior, and then maybe also the day before like this. But you'll have multiple notifications. It's not going to be them reaching out at the last minute saying, oh, you got to do something now or we're going to take this money out. Something else I'm noticing, that lack of personalization. So, hello, customer. If I just ordered something from you, at the very least, you have my first name. At the very least, you got that information, and you can say, hello, Dylan, and have that small amount of personalization. It's not even something that a real person has to do. Like the ordering system would have put my name there in this automatically generated email. So it's not even something that would have taken any time. Um, so we're seeing it's also mentioning savings account. How would it know the specific account that I gave it? I may have given it an account number, but it wouldn't know if that's checking or savings. It would just know that it's a bank account number. So we're looking for inconsistencies. We're looking for things that just don't look right. If I keep going down, I also see that it says pay through method. That seems odd. We would definitely normally see that as payment method, right? So pay through method seems odd. Charges for subscription. It's saying it's also providing a number down here. So if you have any questions, they want you to call this number. And I guarantee if you were to Google what is the number for contacting the Geek Squad, this is not the number you would see. And if you copy this specific number, you might even see people talking about, oh yeah, I got that email too. Yeah. Oftentimes you'll see that on Reddit. So Reddit, Reddit, is a website that you can go to that essentially it's kind of known as like the front page of the internet, where it's just people talking. It's forums. It's people talking about literally whatever topic you can think of, from how to use ChatGPT to I want to change the muffler on my car, to I want to learn how to learn how to manage my finances better, or whatever thing you like. I like Beanie Babies or something, like whatever little random thing that you have going on in your life that you have a passion for. There is a Reddit subreddit for that. And for something like this, if I Googled this number, I guarantee you there's a forum talking about scams that mentions, oh yeah, I got this email as well. This is a scam. So you can always reference that and see real people talking about these scams. I really recommend doing that with any of these scam things that you get, just because you might also be able to contribute to this conversation. Maybe there's only been one other person in this forum saying that it's a scam, and you could be that second person to say, "Oh yeah, I do recognize this is a scam because of the techniques and things that you learned in this class that maybe other people wouldn't know." And you can be that extra voice in that forum saying that it is a scam and helping people out with that. And is it too good to be true? So here we see that Costco, which I'll immediately point out, they spelled Costco. Well, they didn't spell it wrong, but they capitalized it wrong. They have the S capitalized in Costco here. Seems really odd. And immediately I see that the domain of the email is hipextreme.org.uk. So this American company has a domain that is from the UK. That's a no-go. That is immediately clearly a scam. But let's look further. Let's see this Samsung QLED 8K smart TV that they're trying to offer you. I guarantee if you were to click on this link, you'd probably be sent to a website that looks very much like a Costco website, and would probably just have this winning like, oh, you've won this TV, and then say we just need you to pay for the shipping costs for this TV. So if you just want to provide your home address and a payment method, we'll get this TV right over to you. Or maybe they just want you to pay for the taxes, or they'll say some small amount that obviously seems incredible of a deal compared to this probably over $1,000 TV that we're looking at here, and that you just won for free, it's saying. So again, avoid clicking on this. It would just absolutely take you to a fake website that would look very much like a Costco website. Now, robocalling. These are automated phone calls. They play a pre-recorded message, and they're essentially, if they keep you on the line long enough, it might transfer you to a real person. But this is kind of their intro to getting you into their system, essentially getting you to answer the call. And then once you're on the line, then they want to get a real person to talking to you. The problem with these, one of the many problems with these, is they're becoming more and more realistic with AI. So, legitimate call centers, if you call them these days, you might be speaking to a robot and you might not even know. It might sound like a legitimate person. You might hear like the clacking of a keyboard in the background. You might hear the chattering of other people behind, and it's all AI generated. None of it's real. And again, this is something that calls like legitimate call centers are using to just be able to answer more calls essentially. But scammers are using that exact same technology to sound like a legitimate call center when it might just be this robot who is not even a real person. But then they can also spoof that call. And with spoofing, that essentially it masks their current number. So if I have my phone number and I want to pretend to be the IRS, if I know how, I could spoof that number and look like the IRS's phone number. It would look like they're calling. As another example, let's say that a scammer got your child or your grandchild's phone number, and they know what that number is, and they know that you've got that number saved in your phone under their contact. They can spoof their number to be that person's phone number, and then whenever they call you, their contact information will come up. It will look like your child or grandchild is contacting you. The important thing to know with spoofing, because I know that kind of sounds scary, right? Of like, well, now any phone call that I get is just potentially going to be fake. Unfortunately, that is a potential, but it's important to note that spoofing only works one way. So if you feel suspicious, if you feel like this seems like this isn't my grandchild, they called me Nana instead of Grandma, or they're using some weird wording, feel free to hang up and call them right back. They cannot spoof your outgoing call. So you'll have that peace of mind of knowing this seems suspicious. I've hung up, I've called them back, you answered, and maybe they say, "Hey, why'd you hang up on me?" And that's your worst case scenario is you just hung up on them and it's just this moment. But alternatively, you hang up and you call them back and they say, "Oh, hey, haven't talked to you all week," and then you know in that moment that previous person was in fact a scammer faking that call.
So I know we are getting down to the
Yeah.
wire on time. So I think maybe Dylan, maybe we can pick up in the next webinar or on a future webinar on going more deeper into the AI robocalls, um, and maybe
Yeah.
some of the malware. But
Yeah,
I
I'll just touch
do,
on a few other things for the last few minutes here then.
cool.
Uh, so malware I know we've mentioned this term a bunch, so I at least want to touch on what this is and the two major types of it. So clicking on that link might put that malware on your computer, this virus. The two major types are going to be ransomware and spyware. Spyware is going to try to sit in the background and not be noticed and just watch what you do, watch what you log into, watch what websites you go to. Whereas ransomware is going to try to brick up your device, make it so that you can't access it anymore, and then essentially say, if you want access to the information on this computer ever again, give us a certain amount of money. The answer to both of those, to solving those problems, is to take it to a professional, someone like a Ubreak iFix or a Geek Squad or one of these device repair shops, and have them do a proper reset on it. You doing a factory data reset yourself will not remove that malware. So best case with ransomware, another good thing to be doing is to be backing up your information on an external hard drive. That way, if that does happen, you still have most of your information elsewhere. With spyware, you would just want to be looking for like unfamiliar toolbar icons, and the toolbar icons you'd see at the top or the bottom of your screen, where you'd see like the time and the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and things like that. If you see a new icon there that looks unfamiliar to you, that's a good sign that you have spyware on your computer. So, really important to also keep your software up to date, since that's also going to help with those security features. And then the do not call registry is something that you can add to as well, add your number to as well, so that legitimate American companies will no longer solicit to you. Again, this is not a global registry; it's just national, so it will only work for legitimate American companies. But at least lets you know that after that point, if you're getting a call from some American company and they're soliciting to you, it must be a scam because legally these companies are not going to solicit to you anymore.
Hmm.
And I think, yeah, with the last couple of minutes, I think, Cole, do you want to touch on our tech book real quick?
Yeah, so really to wrap up again, I wish we had more time to
Yeah. A lot
talk
of great
through it
questions, though. Like
and
that's
yeah,
really why.
and answer more and more questions. But really what we want to do is just take 2 quick minutes to talk about some of the developments that we have. At the beginning of next month, we are very excited to launch our tech book, which really we've consolidated so many great resources from tech education, understanding icons, connecting to the Wi-Fi, scanning QR codes, and then going into the online safety with password managers, knowing what businesses and what phone numbers those businesses have, identifying what are the contacts you can trust, and really putting all of that information into one book. And that book is going to then guide users onto our virtual education platform. So I see we had some questions about, will this be recorded? Will you be able to watch it on YouTube? Will we have further resources? Yes. All of those resources are going to be out on our educational hub, which we're basically pulling together right now. So I am going to leave our information for our website and then our survey. If you are interested in this tech book, please join our waitlist. To do so, if you fill out our survey, you will see that there is a link to to basically asking you, are you interested in the tech book? So please fill that out, and that will take you that will let us know that you are interested, and we will reach out to you as soon as it is ready. Um, so that is really it. Again, we'll be doing more webinars. Continue to follow us. I have our YouTube channel in the meantime that I'll post
I've got
here.
the slide here.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Dylan. So there's our YouTube channel. If you need the link, it's also in the chat. And we are so happy to be in front of so many of you and to see our numbers keep growing of attendees. Thanks for joining us. Thank you so much, and feel free to reach